The race for the Premier's Plate in the Ninja A-League is going right down to the wire. And if Melbourne City want to keep themselves in the hunt, they must down the struggling Western Sydney here at Wanderers Football Park. Good afternoon. It's great to have your company. It's round 20 of the A-League Women, and we're on Durra country as Wanderers host City in this all-important race for the Premier's Plate. Melbourne City looking to make history and win for the third time in a row through the regular season. That would equal Sydney FC's feat of the 3 previous years before the last 2, and potentially this year that Melbourne City win the title. But Wellington Phoenix, you can see, are breathing down their neck. They're only 1 win behind with a game in hand, but look at that goal difference. The Knicks with +7 advantage on Melbourne City. So if they win their remaining 3 matches and City can't close the gap, then it will be the Knicks who win the Premier's Plate for the first time. So that's why Melbourne City must win here, and must win rather handsomely as well. It would push them 6 points clear, but of course Wellington have those 2 games in hand. But it would put a bit more pressure on Wellington to be perfect across the rest of the regular season.
Okay, for the last home game of the season, please welcome Melbourne
And as you can hear,
City
Western Sydney Wanderers playing their final match here at home. They face Wellington away from home in their final match of the season next weekend, while Melbourne City, they will play the Newcastle Jets in a fortnight, because next week they have their AFC Women's Champions League commitments at home against Nasaf from Uzbekistan. So a busy period coming up for Melbourne City on a number of fronts. Here's the team news. 1 change for Wanderers after that tight 1-0 defeat against Melbourne Victory. Japanese midfielder Ina Harada comes back into the starting 11 at the expense of Nikita Fazari. Captain Amy Harrison plays her 150th A-League Women's match, while Talia Yunus, at just 17 years of age, will play her 50th in this competition. Well, what a leader Amy Harrison is for Western Sydney Wanderers. She made her debut in the Ninja A-League way back in November 2012 for Sydney FC against Adelaide United. 7 years with the Sky Blues. She then moved to Washington Spirit in America. Spent some time at Western Sydney before heading to the Eredivisie with PSV before returning home. She's a 13-time Matilda. 2 changes for City after they were held by the Reds in a 0-0 draw midweek, and both of them attacking changes, as you would probably expect. Danella Buttress returns to the starting team at the expense of Aideen Keane, while Devon Jackson also drops to the bench. Uchendu will start at the point for Michael Matriciani's team. On the bench, up in lights, Holly McNamara, a big return for her after just limited minutes off the bench for the Matildas in the Women's Asian Cup. And Rebecca Stott back for Melbourne City after she's been playing for the Football Ferns, and she led them to the next phase of World Cup qualifying. 3 wins from 3 in round 2. They will now play Fiji in April in the semi-finals. That match scheduled for Hamilton in Waikato, and if they win that, then they will play the winner of PNG and America Samoa for a spot at next year's World Cup in Brazil. Well, Jeff Abrahams, he's performed well this season with Western Sydney Wanderers, considering the injury issues they have had, the stars they've lost, including the likes of Chloe Berryhill, who came in mid-season. But no doubt he'll be looking to finish off the season strong with another win against Melbourne City. Izzy Cooper in charge of this one, assisted by Laura Moyer and Alexis Turner. Beck Mackey is the 4th official. And Michael Matriciani, ultra focused this afternoon. His side looking to continue their unbeaten run as they push for a 3rd consecutive Premier's Plate. It's been not quite as smooth sailing as last year with that undefeated run, but maybe it's given them some belief and resilience for the knockout phase in the finals. So underway, the penultimate match of the regular season for Wanderers and City. And for City, their most crucial match to date as they hunt that elusive third consecutive Premier's plate. Melbourne City did it Sydney FC did it the 3 years prior to Melbourne City's most recent double. And they will look to extend it with the victory this season, with Wellington right alongside them. And Wellington have 3 matches remaining. Melbourne City, after today, will have just 1. So they must keep picking up these points. So Harada back into Jeff Abraham's team. Fazari dropping to the bench gives them that experience in midfield. And Amy Harrison switching across to Alana Cern. Up the line they find Talia Yunus, who plays her 50th match in the Ninja A-League. Good pressure from Davidson to earn the ball back for Melbourne City. Look at that, 26 degrees, 54% humidity. Perfect afternoon in Rudy Hill at Wanderers Football Park.
Poppy, gotta come there.
McKenna and Buttress yet to score a goal in the Ninja A-League. She's threatened many a time this season and very close to earning an early corner. It's Cham Karmas who dives on the ball. Michael Matriciani urging this press from Melbourne City, wanting to keep Western Sydney Wanderers stuck inside their own defensive third. Almost pinched it back. Jasari and then Hooks. Poppy Hooks, dispossessed. Buttress goes down. Referee says it was shoulder to shoulder. Melbourne City fans may disagree. And Turner is just outworked there by Western Sydney. Well, they've started this match sharply, the visitors. And that will be a free kick conceded by Harada. Incredibly, Melbourne City defeated by Western Sydney. There it was. I tell you what, as long as the referee is consistent, that is the question we'll be asked. You can see Buttress was a little off balance, but we always say you've seen them given. So big test defensively here. City have scored the most set-piece goals this season with 10. And Western Sydney Wanderers have done excellently to get the ball out of immediate danger. Good healthy crowd in here at Wanderers Football Park for the final home game of the season for Western Sydney. No doubt they would have loved to seen them continue that and play in the finals, but again, not the case. There's been a lot of conversations about Western Sydney across the board, men's and women's, where the direction of the club is, because it's been a lean spell across the board, across both sides, in terms of making finals. The A-League women's side have only played in the finals back in the 1920 campaign. And they finished in 4th place under Dean Heffernan. And they really did invest in that squad. They had Kristen Hamilton come over, the American. And what was a fairly stacked lineup. They weren't able to progress to the final. There's the injury replacement, Ava Collins, Kiwi international. Has come into this Western Sydney lineup, her 3rd appearance of the season, back-to-back starts. Harada Wins it back for Western Sydney. Now Buchanan, who's playing in midfield now. Linking with Collins. Has the run of Eunice in the middle, but it goes deeper than her. Well brought down by Bennett. And now Chisari. Harada. Shifts onto the right. Another good cross. And that time the chance fell to one of their most experienced players, Danica Matos. Just the 2 Ninja A-League goals in 109 appearances. She almost had a second of the season there. And probably thinks she should have.
G, wider! Tally, that's you, yeah? Wider G, wider G! Teach, go underneath it. Go underneath it, Teach, go underneath it. Good, go, Eva. Now win.
Pressing.
Just follow, go winner, go winner, go winner! Winner! Hey! Well done, well done.
So 18th meeting, or 19th meeting I should say, of these two sides. Melbourne City leading the head-to-heads 12-6. No draws between these two. Quite an incredible statistic that. But Western Sydney winning earlier in the season against Melbourne City. A real upset, an own goal from 18 Keane.
Then dropping in, you've got to drop in and find the pocket. Ava, well done there. Good, Ava.
Well, one back by Eunice. And a nice turn from Collins to release Eunice. Matos getting forward up this near side of the ground. So too Harada. Run into a little bit of treacle though. Melbourne City slowing their progress with numbers on that right edge. Important to note as well this afternoon that there's a number of players in the reckoning for the young Matildas squad for that tournament starting the 1st of April.
Right foot, Poppy, right foot, right foot.
And that squad is going to be named this week.
Magic Poppy!
So really looking forward to seeing who is it that will make that squad for the Young Matildas Asian Cup. You can catch every match live on Paramount Plus. Buttress, McMahon, certainly in line. They've been in recent squads, so too Talia Eunice from a Western Sydney Wanderers perspective. Apostolakis on the bench as well for Melbourne City, another player that Alex Epakis and Kath Canuli been keeping an eye on.
That's it, Carly! Riley's covering you!
Buchanan, Harada, Buchanan on the stretch, just got there in the nick of time. And the pass to Chisari. So Briley Henry under some pressure, Mires was as well. This will spill for Harada. And it was good recovery there from McKenna. Melbourne City again unable to make the most of that opportunity. You can just hear the frustration from Melbourne City boss Michael Matriciani. Start this match brightly, City, but Western Sydney with that great chance moments ago to Danica Matos.
Great football, girls. Great, love that.
Jeff Abraham's really enjoying what Western Sydney are producing here. Ball in from Bennett. Another good one. Matos is causing some problems. The whistle goes. Be somewhat fortunate for Melbourne City. Well, there's a player they'll be very pleased to have back in the squad today, Holly McNamara. Not many opportunities for the Matildas at the AFC Women's Asian Cup. Wonder whether she could have been a player to turn things around last night off the bench, but wasn't given that chance. Just the 31 minutes against Iran in that 4-0 win. Outside of that, on the bench.
Lovely Poppy, well done. Scotty, you would slide.
City with this match followed by Nasaf from Uzbekistan. They're at home, at the home of the Matildas next week in that knockout match in the quarterfinals. So, somewhat challenging spell. They won't have to travel next week, of course, but get deeper into that tournament they will.
Chi, come and get the flick on. Chi, come and get the flick on. Get in front, Danny, go off her. Danny, go off her. Danny, go off her. Come a bit closer. Go in behind her, Danny.
You can hear that conversation. That is fascinating insight. Michael Matrician actually wanted Buttress to run up the line and Uchendu to try and get the flick on. Sometimes it doesn't quite come to fruition. Riley Henry holding off players. Tried to squeeze that pass through towards Buttress. That is not a stat you see very often when a side is against Melbourne City. Western Sydney Wanderers dominating possession to start this match. Can they make it count on the scoreboard? That's a lovely pass. And Matos, player fell over in the 6-yard box from Melbourne City. I believe it was Otto because she's the one remonstrating with the referee, but that is a huge chance for Western Sydney Wanderers that goes begging. We will have a look at that again in a moment. Here's Eunice back in towards the mix-up, and that will be a corner. Well, if you want an example why many people question XG, it's this, because this will not go down on the XG, but that is a massive chance. Huge, huge chance for Western Sydney. Probably the biggest chance of the game, but you won't see that register on XG because it wasn't a strike on goal. So Eunice floating it deep. They do get a piece of it. It's half chance for Western Sydney and Poppy Hooks. This will spill for Harada. Eunice now across on the right. Lovely delivery, but there's no one there. I tell you what, there'd be many strikers that would see that kind of delivery and say thank you very much, but there just wasn't a target in there for Western Sydney. Eunice, we know of her talent, but no one there for Western Sydney. They have started the brighter Western Sydney. That statistic underlines it further. Melbourne City were good for maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes, but since then, Western Sydney have just bounced the ball around. It's been a really good match to watch. Sorry, I've cursed that. But it has been to this point. Beautiful afternoon for football. Temperature in the mid-20s. Wind very low, not much to speak of. Uchendu, bit of shape on that, but maybe too much. And kept running away from Riley Henry. The former Western Sydney Wanderer made a debut with Western Sydney Penrith Junior. A couple of seasons with them before moving on to Melbourne City. Davidson, now McKenna. Henry with a heavy touch. Ooh, problem here for Silvestre. I should say, yeah, Chisari. We are going to hear from Sienna Silvestre at half-time, the former Western Sydney Wanderer. Oh, hang on, what's going on here? This is totally off the ball. Uchendu. Oh, what has happened here? This is crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy. So Sham Karmas is now involved. I'd love to see what happened here. It was totally off the ball. I think Uchendu's going to get sent off here. Oh, it's just utter madness. Well, you might remember last season, Melbourne City. Here we go. Well, there's the push in the back. And it is a red card for Uchendu. Well, there was a lot of talk last season for Melbourne City about that semi-final red card for Lourdes Bosch, and the way it really cost Melbourne City, that ill-discipline. Well, Uchendu's come in this season. She hasn't shown a willingness to get involved in that kind of thing. Well, she may well accost her side right now with ill-discipline and gives the finger to the crowd. I don't think that's a good idea. I would be really interested to hear what was actually said to her, or whether it was some contact from Western Sydney. But that is a crazy moment. A crazy, crazy moment. And they do not need that kind of ill-discipline at this stage of the season, Melbourne City, because it cost them last year. There's no doubt about it. It absolutely cost them in the semi-final against the Mariners. And in a crucial match in the race for the Premier's plate, and ill-discipline has cost Michael Matriciani's side. He cannot quite believe it. Is there going to be any further punishment for a Wanderers player? It would seem not. 25 minutes into that second leg semi-final, Melbourne City went down to 10. Well, this is even earlier. 18 minutes into this game. Certainly a problem for them. And Western Sydney, well, they just have to keep themselves calm as well, because they know they've got the one-player advantage. And they just have to try and wear Melbourne City down. But how crucial for Melbourne City. They need to win this. With a Wellington side, a win behind them, but with a game in hand. A draw or a loss, and all of a sudden the door swings open massively for Wellington to snatch top spot. Which means that if they got themselves to the grand final, they would host it. Melbourne City, they want to finish first for the Premier's plate's sake, but also when it comes to the finals, as you don't want to be heading away for a grand final. So after all that, we're not expecting that kind of drama here at Wanderers Football Park this afternoon. So Western Sydney via Collins. Buchanan. May toss.
Good, Danny, that's you. Good. Danny, left shoulder, left shoulder. Good,
Harrison
Danny.
looking to pick that pass. So Melbourne City, you can expect probably that statistic around possession.
Good, Sonny.
Well, coming into this, we know Melbourne City, highest passing team in the competition. Love to have possession. Well, you feel like they're going to be a bit more circumspect now. Down to 10. Potentially strike more on the break. This will be a corner.
Carly, you're marking.
Well, another twist. Another twist in the race for the Premier's Plate in the Ninja A-League. If you thought it was going to be an easy 3 points for Melbourne City coming to the team, second bottom on the table,
That's your study.
who have nothing to play for except pride, you may have to think again. Because the difficulty level has just increased after that send-off. This delivery headed away by Taylor Otto.
Get outside. Yes, Shelby. Back post, bro. Back post,
Buchanan,
bro.
little toe in
Set up,
from
set up,
McMahon.
set up. Danny, come across.
We expect her to be part of that young Matilda's squad, which is going to be named this week.
Teach you stay, teach you stay. Dutris is there.
To see her back from injury after she started the season on fire, especially from a goal-scoring perspective.
Set up, set up. Vale, todo largo. Largo, saca el equipo. Should be one less in here. Danny, go over centrally. Dan, tuck across. Dan, tuck across. Yeah, hello. Good girls, well done. Hello, drop off, second ball.
So
Hello, Amy,
this is interesting. You can just see, so Melbourne City have said, no, we're not going to try and play out. We're going to go long here. And Mires is going to try and hit a teammate. So Melbourne City, this is going to be good for them potentially when it comes to maybe an extra challenge, an extra string to their bow when it comes to the finals. How do they deal with this kind of situation? But when it comes down to the crunch, they don't want to be putting themselves in this kind of situation, especially with a red card for ill discipline. We don't know what was said, so it's important to note that. But we'll find out. It's Melbourne City down to 10, but in front. Well, that's how good they are. Chasing the Premier's Plate. Down to 10, and they find themselves a goal to go in front on the road. And they're getting together here to have a conversation. And it was a beautiful ball in from Daniela Turner. And it was a lovely setup for McKenna from Briley Henry. You can see here, off the chest, sits up for McKenna, who rolls it under Karmas. And her third of the season, her 15th in a Ninja A-League career. And Melbourne City, strange as it is, dominated while they had 11 players for a fair chunk of this first half. Well, they go down to 10, and they find the opening goal of this one. How do Western Sydney respond? It's always a challenge mentally. Playing a team that goes down to 10. Because if you have the expectation that's going to make things easier, or you should be winning, then it's going to cause you problems.
And again, Danny! Yes, Danny's been good! Good, hold, wait for the moment. Team Sanchu, you're the 6. 86, Zari, underneath.
Buchanan. Shifts it back. Bennett. Putting some dangerous deliveries thus far. And hooks. Nice touch from Buchanan. Cesare returns it to Hooks.
Drive, win a foul. Drive, win a foul.
Off go Melbourne City. Through Shelby McMahon. Bit of a lone ranger there, was just struggling for a teammate. And it's through Western Sydney. They'll take that free kick quickly. So good width being used by Western Sydney. Look at Melbourne City. You would not think that they have only 10 players out there. And if you missed it, Janaza Uchendu scored a double the other week against Canberra United. Sent off after 17 minutes. After a scuffle in the Wanderers box, a bit of push and shove. Not sure whether it was something that was said or whether it was just a bit of contact, but Uchendu was given a marching orders by Izzy Cooper, a straight red card. So at least a one-match suspension, potentially more. I don't believe that will carry over to the Champions League, but it will carry over to the finals potentially for Melbourne City. So it's a big loss. So I would anticipate Uchendu will be they'll be trying to get as much out of her in the Champions League next week as they can. She won't be available the following week against the Jets in the Ninja A-League. So if you missed that result from earlier this afternoon, a win for Canberra United over Adelaide. Bit of a thriller in the end, 3-2 in the nation's capital. So it means that Canberra and Adelaide sit on 30 points with 2 matches to be played. Wellington Phoenix 31, they still have 3 matches to be played, and Melbourne City on the live ladder, sitting on 37 points, 6 points I should say, ahead of Wellington, but Wellington have 2 matches in hand on City.
Cover, Poppy!
On that live ladder, so huge goal from Letitia McKenna. Buchanan really has looked assured in midfield, playing as a fullback to begin the season. Good move from Jeff Abrahams. Poppy Hooks now pushing forward into some space. Harrison, 150th Ninja A-League match. Looking to drive it across to Matos, who's been a focal point for Western Sydney inside this opening half hour. They seem to have just gone a bit flat since the red card. It's strange to say, but the momentum has almost shifted to Melbourne City since that moment. They've been steeled off the back of the red card. So Eunice, that delivery into the arms of Mires. So Mires looking long. And the flick on. Again, favouring Melbourne City. Briley Henry, a huge chance there, just stumbled at the key moment. Lost her footing. And off go Western Sydney. That would have been absolute gold for Melbourne City to have a 2-goal buffer before half-time. With a player down. Don't forget, at half-time, we're going to hear from Sienna Silvesca, who's former Western Sydney Wanderers player, now with Melbourne Victory. Who's certainly well and truly in the frame for that young Matildas side for the Under-20 Asian Cup. Looking to qualify for the Under-20 World Cup. So you don't want to miss that at half-time. She reflects back on one of the biggest moments of her career. Michael Matriciani just wanting his side to be a bit more circumspect here with the lead. Just trying to save their legs. You can see not committing a whole lot of numbers forward. They want numbers behind the ball. Oh, there's a nice touch. And the foot race is on. Poppy Hooks giving chase. It's McKenna bearing down on goal, and Hooks has done enough. And she's trying to pump up her teammates, because that could have been a real hammer blow for Western Sydney had McKenna found a first half double. Look at Poppy Hooks. You've got to love that. Defender celebrating that involvement like it was a goal. It was worth it for Western Sydney. It just is baffling how much this match has swung since the red card. Western Sydney looked assured up till that point. Now all of a sudden it's Melbourne City with a chance here. 10 goals from set pieces. Do they make it another? Oh, it's gone very, very close. Off a Western Sydney head it was. So 10 goals from set pieces, just 2 from corners, 4 from penalties, 3 free kicks and a throw. Here's the header. Very nearly an own goal. A gift that would have been for Melbourne City. Rebecca Stott, one of the key targets. Taylor Otto, another one. Otto actually hasn't scored this season. Stott's been on a goal-scoring streak for her career. 3 goals this season of 10 total in the Ninja A-League. Can she get on the end here? Well, she won't be able to, because it goes out before it even hits the near post. Now, what is happening here? Here is a problem for Milena Mires, the Melbourne City goalkeeper, who has gone down.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Instead of being there, he's only studying.
Now, what is the treatment here? We'll find out. Melissa Barbieri's on the bench for Melbourne City. But this is the incident, okay? So have a look here, Uchendu. So, that's what the red card's for, the lash out at turn. To be honest, the push and shove with Chisari, there was not too much in that. And then Poppy Hooks comes across. There's not much there. There's not much there. It's the second push. It was quite a lash out. And unless something was said that really incited Uchendu that was offensive, it's a strange way for her to react just based on a bit of push and shove. So you wonder, was something said? And if something wasn't said, it's strange that she got that angry. You just have to think, well, maybe she was frustrated by the way that Western Sydney were handling her to start this game. Maybe there was a bit of ill feeling from the previous meeting earlier in the season. So certainly a strange moment for a key player for Melbourne City. So Mires is back up. I was going to say Barbieri hasn't played this season. She was at Stadium Australia last night, brought the trophy out. Of course, she won back in 2010 as the captain of the Matildas. The star of the shootout in torrential rain. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same kind of fairy tale last night for the Matildas.
Shelby, slide, Shelby! Gotta have 4 runs from there though, 4 runs from that moment. Don't need to follow. Boutress, stay! Stay, Boutress! Copy, just cover in case, yeah? Cover in case. Ella, sit in case. Tempo! Yep, Carly's there now, fine. We got that. Good Danny, just be aware.
Melbourne City not affording any opportunities whatsoever for Western Sydney, basically since they went down a player.
Good Dan, top Dan, back in now, let's go, straight back. Yes, Danny. Leah, be ready. Go on, Leah. Chisari central.
It's the cross from Buchanan. That is a lovely cross. Mires with the save. And who else? But Talia Yunus was the player on the end of it. Gee, they would love her to be on the end of those kind of situations again in this match, because you feel like more often than not, with her technical ability, she will at least force a save out of the goalkeeper and more often than not score. She's scored on a couple of occasions this season. And how about that goal that she scored against the Jets in February from long range? Hands went up from all the Melbourne City defenders because they spotted Ava Collins offside, and the Kiwi is going to have to concede the free kick. So the storyline from this first half, the send-off of Uchendu, followed by the goal of McKenna. Natasha McKenna's 3rd of the season, and probably her most crucial at this time of the year when they need a victory, and the situation they were in as well does not get any bigger than that, and could have well have had a double if not for
let's go. Wasting time already.
the desperation of Poppy Hooks, and you can hear Western Sydney coach Jeff Abrahams. He's onto it. Bit of time wasting from Melbourne City. And why wouldn't they try to push the envelope as far as they can, being a goal ahead, and a player down just to try and get a bit more air back in the lungs, get this match closer to full time in the race for the Premier's plate. Henry. Gifted back to Western Sydney. Can Buchanan turn this into something for Western Sydney? Matos moves central and off to the left. So Matos, who started out on the right, shifted over left. You can see Talia Eunice is now over here on the right. So very fluid Western Sydney. Unable to link there with Collins.
Try and keep it!
So some big outs for Western Sydney when you think about it. Kim So-eun, Korean recruit. Holly Casper's out with an ACL injury, just as she was starting to find that scoring touch again. Chloe Berryhill with the ACL as well. The two Chinese internationals back on the bench today. Wang Ying and Wan Kong. Both of them part of the Chinese squad, but not regular starters at the AFC Women's Asian Cup.
You have to win that. Ella, we've got to win that as well.
Matos. A little push there from Henry against her old teammate.
Wait, Amy, let's keep the tempo up. Play, good.
Driven across by Chisari. Hooks looking long. This should be comfortable for Mires, and is. Just lacking a target, aren't they, Western Sydney? Those balls in. Third most crosses in the A-League Women, so you can expect Western Sydney to deliver from wide and deep areas. Melbourne City, not quite last, but 8th. It's more like to play those passes through the channels.
Let's go. Ref, any chance?
Heavy touch from Cern, invited Melbourne City into it by Davidson. Off go Western Sydney through Matos on that left edge. Eunice dropping it back to Chisari as Buchanan central, but turns away from her. This is what they need, a little bit of an injection of speed, dynamism this from Chisari. Now finds the pass to Matos. Swings it around to Eunice. Good ball in towards Collins, and off the post, the save from Mires. I think she just got a touch. Well, it was lovely build-up, and Harada concedes the free kick. Well, this will be very interesting. Was there a touch here? It was Eunice's ball in. It looked like it was on target, and I think Mires has just got a touch. Well, how often do you hear it? When you're putting in a cross, put it on frame, and even if no one gets a touch, it can just nestle inside that far post, and if it wasn't for Mires, it would have been 1-1. Talia Eunice, she's just a player you just never tire of watching, as Melbourne City will have a double, will they? Yes, they do eventually. It's scrounged over the line. And it's Briley Henry who will accept the acclaim. Will it be her goal? That will be a debate. But regardless, it is Melbourne City into a 2-goal lead before halftime. And it was just a very, very poor defensive moment. Communication was horrible from Western Sydney. Just a long ball from Mears. Look at this. Harrison with the header. No communication with Karmas. McKenna places it back across. And then I'm pretty sure that'll be Briley Henry. A little bit of a celebration to boot. And it is Briley Henry's goal. And it's great to see her back into the starting side at the tail end of this season. Her 9th start after she missed the first month and a half with a back injury. She's now scored 3 goals, and Melbourne City are stamping their authority all over this match. They've scored 2 goals, a player down, and they are cruising towards victory now at Wanderers Football Park. And that all came after the red card for Uchendu. So Bennett, ball in. Collins got a touch off the head. Couldn't direct it on target. Appreciative of the service. And that will probably be the final play of this first half. They've been somewhat of a bogey side, Western Sydney, for Melbourne City of late, despite their dominance. They've split the last 4 matches, 2 wins apiece. But right now, Melbourne City with a golden opportunity to go on and go 6 points clear in the race for the Premier's plate, albeit with Wellington having 2 matches in hand. They would have the points on the board, and that is crucial as the pressure rises at the back end of this season. So we're continuing to go on here. Back into this first half. Is there a chance potentially for a third? Briley Henry still going. Buttress. Oh, you thought that might be the moment for her to break her A-League Women's goal drought. And hold on a second. Karmas potentially is down here. No, maybe Poppy Hooks just limping back into position. So we've got a minute past the original stoppage time. And that is halftime here at Wanderers Football Park. Well, a first half full of storylines in the final home match for Western Sydney this season. On 17 minutes, the match turned. Chinaza Uchendu sent off for a push and shove with Western Sydney. Cesari was at the centre of it after Western Sydney started this match so brightly. But then from that moment, it was Melbourne City, a player down, but then they scored 2 goals, McKenna and Henry, and at halftime it's Wanderers 0, City 2. And let's have a look back at that red card incident. So look at this, Cesari, Uchendu, push and shove, and then Bennett with a push in the back. Uchendu goes 2-handed, and all of a sudden it was kicking off. I should say it was Cern who copped it from Uchendu after the initial push and shove. Here it was, so Cern with a push in the back, and then Uchendu just went straight at Alana Cern. To be fair, Cern should have received a yellow card, but Uchendu cannot be reacting like that. And then was sent off. The Nigerian international gave the finger to the crowd on the way off as well, just to add a little bit more spice to this one. And at half-time, Melbourne City, and they don't have won that little battle, but they're winning this match 2-0. And this was the first goal. Just poor from Western Sydney again, unable to deal with the ball in from Turner. And it was Cern just over her head. Misread the situation, sat up for McKenna. Just running off the back of Bennett. And then Henry was able to slide it, or neatly cushion it into the path of Letitia McKenna. And the West Australian was able to put Melbourne City in front before, right on the stroke of halftime, the Western Sydney local, Riley Henry, able to scrounge it over the line. And that was enough to make it a 2-0 lead for Melbourne City, right on the stroke of halftime. And there's a nice little goal celebration with Taylor Otto. So Western Sydney in that possession, they were dominant even before Melbourne City went down to 10. But you can have all the possession you want. If you're not putting the ball in the back of the net, it counts for very little. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with the halftime show. Right after this, it's Melbourne City leading Western Sydney 2-0. Well, it's as pretty as a picture, Wanderers Football Park, but it is not the result the home fans were looking for, because at halftime, Wanderers are down 2-0 despite playing against 10 players for the majority of that first half after the send-off for Uchendu. So a bridge, I should say a mountain it is to climb for Western Sydney Wanderers if they want to bridge this gap. Well, at 19 years of old, Sienna Silvesca is at her third Ninja A-League club. The attacking midfielder joined Melbourne victory from the Wanderers this season and is still building into her best form. Head coach Jeff Hopkins knows what Silvesca is capable of after witnessing her hat-trick against Western United last campaign.
And the left foot of Sienna Silvesca will be on delivery here for the Wanderers corner. Silvesca's corner in at the near post, all the way in at the near post. The goal drought is over for the Western Sydney Wanderers, and it's Sienna Silvesca direct from a corner kick.
My favourite Olympico would be the one against Western United, as our team hadn't scored in quite a few games, so there was a record on the line for not scoring any goals in a certain amount of time. So scoring that kind of kept us away from that record that you don't want to have. So yeah, and that also contributed to my hat-trick. So
Rue's cut back, and Silvesca's got two! Sienna Silvesca is on fire for the Western Sydney Wanderers!
my favourite goal was the third one in my hat-trick against Western United. After the second goal, I kind of just pushed to get that third one, and then scoring the way I did was a great feeling. A shot from outside the box was great, and yeah, so to win that game for us with a lot of goals was pretty good.
Jasari. Now Eunice. Silvesca's on a hat-trick. Silvesca! The sort of half you dream about. A hat-trick by the 27-minute mark. Sienna Silvesca having the game of her young life so far.
What a talent she is, Sienna Silvesca at Melbourne victory. And you can start your Ninja A-League Women Heroes digital card collection for free today. You can head to aleagues.com.au/heroes to register. You can unlock 7 complimentary player cards and go into the draw to win one of 3 epic prizes. So make sure you get collecting there, the Ninja A-League Women's Heroes digital card collection. Now, a little bit earlier today, all the Matildas in the Women's Asian Cup started their careers in the Ninja A-League. They were at a thank you event, no doubt very, very difficult for them after that defeat last night in the final against Japan. It included star centre-back Alana Kennedy, who is a weapon from set pieces.
It's Alana Kennedy. And it's a pinpoint strike! Game on at Jubilee! Alana Kennedy marks her return to the W League with a brilliant goal. Kennedy, right-footed, and there it is! She is an absolute gun. Alana Kennedy with a right-foot master strike puts Sydney ahead. And Glory must surely have talked about this before the game, Jamie, not to give away free kicks there, because she is lethal.
Welcome back to Western Sydney, where it is Holly McNamara's Melbourne City against all the odds, leading by 2-0. Without McNamara, without Chinaza Uchendu after she was sent off after 17 minutes, and Melbourne City in front by 2-0 over a Western Sydney side who incredibly really lost their way. There's no other way to describe it. They lost their way since Melbourne City went down to 10. So they have decided to make a change at half-time. So Amelia Bennett is going to be replaced by Wan Kong, who comes into the game. Kong is an attacking player, so interested to see how this shakes out. Couple of goals for her in the Ninja A-League, both in January against Perth and Sydney. And for Melbourne City, they have made a change as well. So Buttress replaced by 18 Keane, who was pushed back to the bench for this one. She's been in fabulous form this season. 18 Keane, she's got 5 goals, her best return in a season.
Melbourne City, number 7, Danelle Buttress, is replaced by number 21, 18 King.
So it'll be interesting to see how things shake out with Kong. They push her further forward, maybe play alongside Collins at the top, and maybe they would go to a 4-2-2-2. So the opening goal scorer of this one, Letitia McKenna, with the ball in the middle of Wanderers Football Park. We'll just wait for the DJ, and I think we'll be all good to go in this second half. Maybe the DJ's forgot to press the off button. What's going on here? There is the DJ. We still wait for the start of this second half. Just building the suspense here. And we are underway, finally, at Wanderers Football Centre. Melbourne City with this 2-goal lead. Thanks to Letitia McKenna and Briley Henry, the former Wanderer, coming back to haunt her old side. And those changes at half-time. So Wan Kong comes in for Millie Bennett, so you can see her playing right up the top. So playing a lot further forward than we saw Bennett, and 18 Keane comes in for Buttress, and Buttress was dangerous at times in that first half, but Keane is just going to give them probably even more raw speed, directness, especially when they would probably like to play somewhat on the counter-attack. When you saw those stats at half-time, it's quite staggering. You'd think that it was Western Sydney Wanderers, or maybe the statisticians had made a mistake with 70% possession to the home side, but no. It is Western Sydney who have controlled much of possession and have had much better passing accuracy than City. But City with the lead. So Ross back and pops this over the top for the foot race between Matos and Keane. Those two, Matos and Henry, I should say, spent a lot of time up against each other on the training track at Western Sydney. Matos making her debut for Western Sydney February 2020 against Melbourne City. Henry, December 2020 against Sydney FC. So both coming through at a very similar time. So McKenna, not on the first bite of the cherry, but almost on the second. Couldn't squeeze it past the 150 gamer. And Amy Harrison, Kong, keeps that inside the line. Able to link with Collins, so it certainly seems like they are playing with that front two, Eunice and and Harada playing in behind. And then those holders in Buchanan and Chisari.
You're probably hitting in the text. Out tempo, go again, Poppy.
So Melbourne City through Henry. They can move it quickly off the pace. And 18 Keane herring down that left edge, and Poppy hooks. She's not going to take a backward step. Poppy hooks her return to the Ninja A-League for the first time in 4 years this season. Previously played with Perth Glory back in 2022, returning to this competition after a standout season with Illawarra in the MPLW. Same side as teammate Tanika Matos. Jazari earns it back for Wanderers. The industry, though, from Henry to almost win it back for Melbourne City. Turner does that now. Keane, this is a dangerous moment. And 18 Keane, shoulder to shoulder with Buchanan. She will not go down without a fight. 18 Keane. Buchanan has won that first little battle. Be very interesting to watch that unfold throughout the rest of this match. And Collins just not on the same page. Just bereft of ideas since the 17th minute, Western Sydney. You did wonder whether that red card and the fact that Melbourne City were down to 10, the pressure that sometimes can come with that. If you think as a side that, well, it's ours to lose now against 10 players, if that starts to seep into your mind, then all of a sudden it adds unwanted pressure. And maybe it just did that for Western Sydney today. Keane again against Buchanan, who is trying to get a piece of her shirt. And that has come out off Buchanan last. And it will be a corner kick here for Melbourne City. So McKenna's delivery, angled in, Karmas is able to push it away. And Otto, hands went straight to her head. She's thinking, what do I have to do to score in the Ninja A-League this season? Well, it was almost past Karmas too. It's a late reaction from the Western Sydney goalkeeper. Nice turn from McMahon. Turner. And McKenna! Just wide. Rattled the net off the backboard in the end. The advertising hoardings. That's how close it was. Karmas was worried about it. Would have been some way to make it a double. Letitia McKenna. Certainly a goal-scoring threat in the Ninja A-League. 15 times she's scored, including today. Just having a look at her record, she's scored 2 doubles in her career with City, 1 in the Ninja A-League. Against Brisbane back in January last year, and a couple in the AFC Women's Champions League as well against Stallion Laguna back in November. Here's a long-range strike. Oh, that's a way to get one back. And there's one player from Western Sydney who can produce special moments like that. And it is Talia Yunus. My, oh my. That is quite remarkable, and it's really smart play from Chisari. Takes the free kick quickly. Yunus launches it. Very nonchalant. And Western Sydney are right back in this one.
It's coming! It's coming! Come along, Amy, drop off!
Absolutely out of nowhere. Western Sydney Wanderers. Does that give them a little bit of life, a little bit of extra energy?
She's offside, Rev! Here we go! She's offside, Rev!
Well, have a look at this again. Talia Yunus. We saw what she produced, and we mentioned in the first half against Newcastle last month. Well, that's gone to another level. That has gone to a totally another level, and let's be honest, we need to really cherish and enjoy Talia Yunus over this match and the next match against Wellington Phoenix, because I hope she's in this competition next year, but you wonder whether she will, because we know of her talent at just 17 years of age.
That's the difference, though.
Third goal of the season. You can see the technical class, the ability from her. So Melbourne City, all of a sudden, a little bit of a challenge on their hands. They want to restore this buffer. There's an appeal for handball. There's no VAR. Referee waves it away. Now, this would be an interesting look on the replay, because this has been the talk of the competition across the men's and women's this week. Can the handball rule? Because no one really knows what the go is anymore.
Just there, Brian, just there.
So here it is. It's going to move quickly. Oh, I tell you what. Tell you what. Certainly worth a shout. Melbourne City. Chance to try and find this third. Dashed wide by Rebecca Stott. So just under 35 minutes remaining in what is a crucial match in the race for the Premier's Plate. And that's a poor pass from Cern. Melbourne City will be tiring. Playing with 10 since the 17th minute. Western Sydney have just grabbed a goal back through Yunus. Chisari switches it across to Buchanan. Now Harada. This is the Western Sydney Wanderers. The energy we saw. Here is a card coming out for the challenge on McKenna. And brandish the weight of Western Sydney.
Sub's coming.
So just confirming it was Collins there going in. And Ava Collins receiving her first yellow card in the Ninja A-League. And that will be her last involvement in this match. So here's a bit more excitement for Western Sydney. Collins, she got herself about, but opportunities few and far between. Alyssa Nsard, one of the bright spots for Western Sydney this season. Scored 2 goals. Goal against Adelaide in December and Sydney in January for the 17-year-old. Talented player, lots of speed. Futsal background as well, so Really good on the ball. Can she be the player that finds this equaliser for Western Sydney and throws Melbourne City's hopes of claiming the Premier's plate into potential ruin? Because even a draw here would cripple them. They're 3 points clear of Wellington. A draw would take them 4 points clear, but Wellington would still have 2 games to bridge that 4-point gap. And Wellington, one of those are against Western Sydney Wanderers. So just to remind you of who they have in their final 3, because they've got a couple of matches this week. They've got the Mariners on Wednesday, Western Sydney on Sunday, and then the Friday following in Adelaide. That match, that's on Good Friday. Will it be a Good Friday for Wellington Phoenix? If they win their next 2, could be the day that they claim the Premier's plate for the first time. A lot of water to pass under the bridge until then, though. This match could have a significant say in what happens and how difficult it becomes for Wellington. Harrison, can they do it for Amy Harrison? Game number 150 for her. Eunice has already produced a memorable moment in her 50th match. Harrison has pushed forward, so can Melbourne City exploit the space here? McKenna rushed into it, but Poppy Hooks was back. Melbourne City, you wonder as well, when do they push the McNamara button? Do they throw her out there? Or do they potentially rest her? It'd be a strange call to rest her, considering she's on the bench. She hasn't played much for the Matildas, just those 31 minutes against a run. You would think that there wouldn't be any reason not to give us some minutes this afternoon, but still, we haven't seen her yet. And we're into the last half hour.
Leah, you stay so we're not person on person. Shelby's here.
You can see those City bench players warming up. Devon Jackson, another player that Michael Matriciani may go to. They want to try and give themselves more of a buffer. You can just feel the tension since that Eunice goal. The pressure starting to rise as we near the climax of this one. So Western Sydney are going to make another change. And it is going to be Zumaya in her 4th match off the bench. The 17-year-old SD Raiders junior replaces Matos. It's an interesting one. You don't often see Matos leave the park. So Zumaya is given a chance. This may be a look to the future here for Western Sydney. Made a debut in February for Western Sydney. So inside. This will sit up nicely for her. And now Zumaya, a chance to stretch her legs. What can the 17-year-old produce? Bounced away from the initial challenge. Nice pass to Kong. Now Eunice stabs it over the top, but it was just a little too heavy. Went for placement with that chip rather than the power we saw previously. Pressure there on Poppy Hooks, who's dwelled on the ball. One player you don't want to give the ball to in that situation is 18 Keane, who very nearly punished Western Sydney. She'll win a free kick though. Harrison saying that there was a bit of a dive, ref. Was there a bit of a dive? Oh, I tell you what. There's an argument for it. Was there contact? There was contact, but Keane certainly made the most of it. There's no doubt about that. But it gives Melbourne City an opportunity. 3 goals from free kicks this season. 2 from corners. It's from that kind of angle that those class it similar to a corner routine. And this one is at the near post. Melbourne City again. It was Stott, I believe, flying in there. The captain. Otto swings it back across. Henry thought about the spectacular. Now McMahon. Away from Harrison. A little bit of awkward spin on it. Inside rushing after it. And Turner has to get a hurried clearance on it. McMahon around the corner. Beautiful touch from Shelby McMahon. Affords Otto some time. Henry slipped over. Keane didn't. And Karma saves the day, but Otto, well, it's been blocked by the arm there of Hooks, but the whistle went. I'll tell you what, everything's happening here at Wanderers Football Centre. What a passage of play that was.
Great job, team!
And Alana Cern is grabbing at maybe a wrist here. Just try and soak all this up. So Otto, Henry slipped over. Keane you thought was going to score. Then Karmas with a save. May have saved the game for Wanderers. And then Otto into the shoulder of Poppy Hooks. Now that, had it not been flag up for offside, I believe. Just trying to clarify what that that whistle was for eventually. I believe it was offside. But Poppy Hooks would have been all right, I reckon, because it hit her up on the shoulder. But absolute chaos in the box there. With 25 minutes to play, everyone just gets a moment to breathe and go again. Western Sydney Wanderers hunting a significant scalp for the second time this season. It was an 18 Keane own goal which separated the sides back in February. Start of February they last played. Okay, we've got some eavesdropping there. So Shem Karmas has just said it's blown up. So whatever this issue for Alana Cern is, the wrist is inflamed. And you can see that it's been strapped up. Now I wonder whether she's potentially damaged it in that contest with Henry when they both sort of fell awkwardly. I believe they were both the players to hit the deck. Will that be the end of the section potentially for Cern? They do have the Chinese international Wong Ying on the bench, who is a defender. So you would anticipate that could be a change that Jeff Abrahams would like to make. And there's a nice turn from Kong after the beautiful pass from Eunice to start off this attacking move. Buchanan with that long loping strike. Cuts it back. And it will be a corner for Western Sydney. And it all came via Eunice and Kong, who set up that space down the left. And then Kong's pass. Look at this from Eunice. The back heel flick. It was just magical to watch. Absolutely magical to watch. It's shades of Mary Fowler in this competition. Here's the corner. Up it goes into a dangerous area. And Poppy Hooks was at the fall. Well, do not go anywhere. Do not take your eyes off this, because Melbourne City are tiring. Been down to 10 players since the 17th minute after Uchendu was sent off for ill discipline. Push and shove with Alana Cern. And since then, Melbourne City scored 2 goals before the break, before Talia Yunus pulled one back. A remarkable strike after they took a free kick quickly. Now this could be a head injury.
Yep, correct.
So, bit of stop-start here the last few minutes.
Sorry. We've got the ball, yeah? Make sure you're next to your teller.
And Shelby McMahon maybe has a bit of ringing in her ear after this. Here it is, head clash with Poppy Hooks.
Stay on it, control what we can control.
And that's an interesting message you can hear there from Jeff Abrahams, just reinforcing to his team to control what they can control. And maybe he feels like in that first half, when there was the red card for Uchendu, they didn't quite deal with it as well as they would have liked, because immediately they're behind 2-0. There's 2 attacking players that Michael Matriciani has still got up his sleeve. It's a strange one that we haven't seen McNamara to this point. As I said, especially considering she hasn't played in the or much in the Women's Asian Cup, just that one appearance. You just wonder whether maybe the training loads were a little bit high. They don't want to overdo it at this point. Women's Asian Cup, Women's Champions League match next week for Melbourne City against Nassau before their final regular season match against the Jets on the 5th of April. Easter Sunday that will be. And Saad, all across. Melbourne City sweep it away. 20 minutes remaining at Wanderers Football Centre. Melbourne City hunting a record equaling 3 consecutive Premier's plates. And if they want to continue on that quest, 3 points is the requirement this afternoon. And they're going to have to do it the hard way.
Watching Brian.
Yeah, if you'll have a sub, please. Leah Davidson coming on.
So you may have heard that through the effects. Leah Davidson is going to be replaced.
Substitution, Melbourne City, number 18, Leah Davidson.
It will be Laura Hughes, who has missed the majority of this season with a knee injury. Good to see her back. The Tuggeranong junior out of the ACT. Began her career with Canberra United, who had a really important win this afternoon against Adelaide, 3-2 at home. Those 2 tussling for 3rd and 4th spot. City and Wellington battling it out for 1st and 2nd. And Michael Matriciani hoping that Laura Hughes can help add those fresh legs to see out this match. Cern and Sumaya just going to rein it in.
Give me attention to detail, come on.
Well, there's been drama across the board in the A-Leagues this afternoon. I mentioned that Canberra 3-2 win over Adelaide United in the nation's capital. The red card, 3 goals here in Western Sydney. We had in the men's competition the Jets with a last-minute winner against Sydney to go 2-1 up and clear in that race for the Premier's plate. So it's got that kind of feeling about it. And if you're a Melbourne City fan, no doubt you're looking forward to the men's match as well tonight, taking on Perth Glory as they hunt a spot in the top 6. So it is getting to that end of the season across the competitions in the A-Leagues. The race for the top 6 is heating up. The race for the Premier's Plate getting to a critical juncture. So Unsad's not going to be able to run that down. Made a debut here at Wanderers Football Centre. First match of the season for Western Sydney in that defeat against Perth Glory. And they finish it on a happier note, Wanderers.
Not too high! Not too high! Come on, ref! Come on, ref!
Neres punches it straight down the middle.
Easy teach. Great ball, Harry.
So that possession continuing. Melbourne City with a bit more in this second half, to be fair. It was 70-30 at half-time. But despite having the one-player advantage for the majority of this match, Melbourne City with more shots and more on target. And Western Sydney changed that late on. How is the shape here from Zumaia's cross? It's decent. Mires has to punch it away. Thought she was going to try and claim there, the Spanish goalkeeper. But decided that punching was a better option, and who's to criticise, because they were able to scramble it away. So Eunice looks up, tracks across here to the left. Melbourne City keeping close eye on her. Zumaia is going to earn a corner kick. So the targets for Western Sydney. Getting into the box after some nice work down the left from the 17-year-old Zumaia. Harrison's certainly one of those. What a story it would be if she can score in a 150th. Buchanan, another target. Eunice's delivery, it's on point. Mires punches. Buchanan, did she throw a shoulder at it? Now it's Kong, back across the face. It's a pinball in the box. That might have been a handball, and that's looped just wide. Melbourne City feeling for that handball against Poppy Hooks. That could have gone anywhere. There's the punch from Mires. It was not her best. Then Kong with a deflected strike on goal. And then Henry couldn't get it away. That was potentially an appeal there. And then Unsad poking her strike wide. Well, the nerves are jangling for Melbourne City. Final 15 minutes at Wanderers Football Centre. Free kick for Melbourne City, which they will appreciate. And here comes a change. Looks as though it will be Wang Ying into the game for Poppy Hooks. Harada is going to be replaced by Fazari. So a straight swap, Fazari for Harada. They exchanged spots in the starting side for this one after Fazari started against Melbourne Victory last week. So Ina Harada makes her leave. And Melbourne City fans enjoyed that moment. I'm sure many of them were at Stadium Australia last night. And doing the double, coming across to Wanderers Football Centre to watch this one. So Wang Ying, who played 4 minutes at the Women's Asian Cup, just those 4 minutes for China against Uzbekistan. Han Kong came off the bench a few times, but only 14 minutes for her. So both of them have somewhat fresh legs. Back into the Wanderers squad.
Well played.
but still no McNamara for Melbourne City. So maybe they are going to wrap her up in cotton wool potentially. Cern up the line, lovely pass. Buchanan's delivery. And knocked towards the byline by Otto. Here comes another corner for Western Sydney Wanderers. The last one caused utter chaos in the box. The difference is here, though, Eunice, it's not her favoured side, and you can see that she's going to change it up here. Little 1-2, and Melbourne City, they're awake to it, and it's 18 Keane, who is herring up through the middle of the ground. But a heavy touch allows Cesari to take control of the situation.
Good T-strong.
But that's a missed opportunity for Western Sydney. Tried to take it quickly. It worked for the free kick for Eunice's goal. Didn't work on that occasion. Looked around the corner. Buchanan, that's heavy. Ooh, was there contact there on inside? She hit the deck off the ball.
Shelby and McKenna are coming off. Shelby and McKenna.
So Shelby McMahon and Letitia McKenna are being replaced. So we are going to get to see Holly McNamara. Just that one appearance in the AFC Women's Asian Cup. Off the bench against Iran. And she will get some game time here. Alexia Apostolakis in the frame for the Young Matildas squad, which is going to be named this week for the Under-20 Asian Cup starting in April. You can see every match live right here on Paramount Plus. So Apostolakis comes in for McMahon. Holly McNamara also into the game for McKenna. So just have a look how they work this through. I think Ross Backen's going into midfield. So Apostolakis to right back. Yep, that's how it's going to work out. So Keane playing over there on the left. Ross Backen into the midfield. Cora Hughes as well alongside her. Forward they launch it. Hughes. So you'd probably say Melbourne City at the moment 4-2-3 formation. Probably saying 4-2-3. 9 players, yes, but that's because Uchendu sent off 17 into this one, so they got Rossback and Hughes as the holders. McNamara is sort of playing maybe a hybrid 10-9 role as a attacking midfielder slash striker in the middle. And then Henry on the right and Keane on the left. And McNamara seal a win here for Melbourne City on return. 12 this season, leading the Golden Boot race. Jansen's up to 8 goals. Kennedy White's got 8 for Brisbane and Victory. Rasmussen, of course, 11, but no longer in this competition. Heading over to Juve, the Mariners, the former Mariners striker. So McNamara odds on to claim the Golden Boot. McNamara turning, facing. Wanderers getting players to block the angle, though. Keane stepping left, stepping right. Lovely squeezed pass through to Keane. Ross back and strike. Friendly fire straight at McNamara. It's caught her in the chest. She's somewhat winded here, Holly McNamara. That's not the return she wanted to the Ninja A-League. Hughes. And just legged there on the way through. And a yellow card, is it? No, it's just a magic spray. The disappearing spray out for Izzy Cooper. In Melbourne City. We'll just take some more time out of this match. There it is, Chisari, just with that touch. Clip of the ankle.
Follow in, Brian. Just in there.
So Apostolakis, she's got quite the wind up here. And she is going for goal. And Karmas has to push it around the outside of the post. Not a bad free kick from the 19-year-old Apostolakis, another Sydney sider who made her Ninja A-League debut with Western Sydney. 3 seasons here. Got a few out there. Melbourne City, who have played at Wanderers. 18 Keane another. So McNamara, how she worked her way through there. Izzy Cooper said it was a terrific tackle, and it was. It won the ball, and Stott has taken it over the sideline. It's an excellent tackle on McNamara, who somehow worked her way out of an impossible situation. Wang Ying. Zumaya turns it to the Chinese international. Harrison looks up. Can she conjure? Inside, put under pressure, and she had it back to Melbourne City players, but she's able to win it back and then gifts it to the former Wanderer in Keane. Whistle is gone.
Riley, you don't need to tuck inside. We've got legs. You stay closer to her.
So 4.5 minutes of regulation time remaining at Rudy Hill here in Western Sydney. Western Sydney looking to play it out from the back. Buchanan shapes up the line.
Girls, play!
Goes long. You can hear the frustration coming from Jeff Abrahams. He wants them to keep playing, not looking for the long ball.
Closer, Alyssa, closer!
It feels like by doing that, they are giving themselves the best opportunity to find the equaliser. Talia Eunice's goal, just minutes into the second half, has this match on a knife's edge. Michael Matriciani looking tense on the Western Sydney, on the Melbourne City bench. Zumaya, and Eunice should get there. Oh, Ross Backen using all her experience there. Just had Eunice off balance, used her physical strength there in such a crucial moment. So what happens here? Melbourne City, they don't want this taken quickly, so they get numbers in there.
No catching there!
So it's on the favoured side of Talia Yunus. She's got Harrison, Wong Ying, Lan Kong as well. Some good targets in the box. And almost through the hands of Mires. Oh, Melbourne City players, coaching staff and fans with their heart in their mouths there. Look at this. Just was able to hang on to it with Insard breathing down her neck. Pressure points on the line for Melbourne City. Can they hang on here? 2 minutes to go in regulation time. We will get some stoppage time. Do they have the quality here, Western Sydney, to find the equaliser?
Slide, Holly. Back in, Carly, good. Easy Hughes.
Harrison just left that pass a little behind. And the ball driven in off the head of Stott, who's the first to react. It is Western Sydney. And it's Zumaya. Was looking for the early delivery, decides against it, took on Apostolakis, and referee's going to come back for another free kick here. Well, remember what happened on the last free kick here that Yunus delivered. She can absolutely put it on the spot. She can put it on the corridor of uncertainty for defenders and goalkeepers. We've seen her do it throughout the season. This is a big moment. Yunus to the back post. Mires gets the punch away, only as far as Insard. Now Chisari, Insard, Zumaya, a little slow to react. Cern has to recycle it. And Fazari was dispossessed by Keane. Down they both go. Chisari under the pressure of McNamara. And Chisari has to go all the way back to her goalkeeper. Stakes high. Talia Yunus's delivery. Harrison, heavy touch from Harrison. And it just let the air out of the situation, let the air out of the balloon for Western Sydney.
I'm not doing it, I'm doing extra time.
And how much additional time have we got here?
Yeah, we'll do it now.
Beck Mackey is about to unveil the board. We've got 5 minutes, and I believe they're going to make another change here, their final change. Devon Jackson for Melbourne City. She is waiting by the fourth official, and she will replace Briley Henry. Devon Jackson, who scored
Well done, Brian.
just the once this season.
Discipline, Dev! Discipline, Dev!
Dev, underneath it, Dev. Oh, good. Easy, Dev. Easy, Dev. Slide across, Holly. Good, 18. Take across. Good, 18. Easy, Dev. Easy, Dev. You're fine. Slide, Holly. Good. Yes, you do.
So a minute expired of the 5. You'd probably expect maybe we'll get a little bit longer after that substitution right on the stroke of the 90.
Yes, Holly.
Can Western Sydney Wanderers fans take something memorable away from their final home match of the season? It would be some way to finish with a late equaliser here. Kong into the middle towards Insard. Mires with the grab.
Come on, start the count, ref. Start the count. Alyssa, stay if she drops it.
From the 17th minute, Melbourne City down to 10 players.
Hand in the back.
Then they went and scored 2 goals. McKenna and Henry made it 2-0. Yunus pulled one back in the second half.
Help her. Give me help.
And it's Yunus now delivering on towards the head of Kong. It spills back for Buchanan. Down goes Buchanan. Western Sydney Wanderers bench are up in arms. They wanted the referee to blow a free kick or maybe even a penalty. Instead, It's the whistle going City's way, right in front of all the Melbourne City fans who are very appreciative of that decision. And they are in no hurry to take this free kick. So here is the challenge. You can see, clear free kick. So Wong Ying on the ankle of McNamara. So Keane. Oh, this should be a corner. Oh, it isn't. Melbourne City bench certainly thought so. Thought probably maybe have come out off Buchanan, but the referee said no. Out off Keane. And Western Sydney have the ball. You would think that they're going to get at least 3 minutes from here. It'd be harsh for the referee to call this match on 95 minutes because Melbourne City took a long time to take that free kick and the substitution as well. So Western Sydney have time, but they're not on the same wavelength there.
Squeeze him in!
It's a frustrating moment. Wong Ying and Zumaya. Time is slipping away for Western Sydney.
Talia, go closer. Win the second one.
Ying back towards the head of Nsard. Well, Mieres is in a hurry because they know it was going to be a corner. And they know this side is the dangerous one because it's on Eunice's favoured side. You can see that breeze just maybe taking this back in towards goal. So this is going to make it even more difficult for the Melbourne City goalkeeper. Hold on a second, says Izzy Cooper.
The ball's not in play. The ball's not in play.
So referee just laying down the law to everyone in the 6-yard box. Keep your wits about you. I don't want to be blowing my whistle for a free kick. Amy Harrison right next to the goalkeeper. Eunice into the mix. Karmas is even up. Now it's Buchanan first to react. And they're chasing after it. Remember, Karmas is out of goal, so it's a foot race here for Melbourne City to try and seal it. They will not be able to do so, and oh my goodness. Wong Ying has had an absolute shocker there. She's tried to clear it over the sideline. Oh, hang on a second. What's going on here? Now, Wong Ying and McNamara are in a little bit of a heated exchange. The tempers are flaring here. So what's happened here to incite this? So Wong Ying has punched it over the byline. Oh, no, I think McNamara's run over and said, well, you go and fetch it. And that caused the tension, but it's not going to matter in the end because Melbourne City are going to continue on their quest for a record equaling 3rd consecutive Premier's plate. And they move 6 points clear of Wellington, albeit the Knicks. They have 2 matches in hand, but Melbourne City are still well and truly in the race, and they had to do it the hard way, down to 10 players after 17 minutes after Uchendu was sent off. They then scored 2 goals by McKenna and the former Wanderer, Briley Henry, before Talia Eunice spectacularly pulled one back early in the second half. It wasn't enough, though, for Western Sydney. Full time at Wanderers Football Centre. A really enthralling match of football. Western Sydney Wanderers 1, Melbourne City 2. And that whole drama between McNamara and Wan Kong, I believe it was in regards to Western Sydney being angry about Melbourne City time wasting. And then McNamara was said, well, if you want the match restarted quicker, why don't you run and get that ball? And that obviously incited a little bit of a heated exchange. Amy Harrison, she can see the funny side in game number 150. Gee, they fought hard, Western Sydney, but they'll be frustrated because they played against 10 for the majority and they were unable to get the result. There'll be a lot to unpack, I'm sure, after that one. So Eunice scoring in her 50th Ninja A-League match as well at just 17 years of age. So a nice moment for the teenage star, who will likely be with the young Matildas heading over to the AFC Women's Under-20 Asian Cup. So let's have a look back at the moments that mattered this afternoon in Western Sydney. This was early on, 17 minutes. Chinaza Uchendu, the Nigerian international, just saw red in many ways, more ways than one. It was the push on Cern that resulted in her being sent off. And she's going to be suspended most likely for the finals. I don't think it's going to be a one-match ban. Look at that, striking out at a player. You would think it's going to be at least 2 matches for Uchendu. Sent off. Gave the bird, flipped the bird to the crowd as well in the in the aftermath as well. And then it was the goals for Melbourne City. Well, they got the scoring underway just minutes after that red card, 7 minutes in fact after. And it was Letitia McKenna who opened the scoring. It was just a disaster at the back for Western Sydney. Cern got herself in a pickle. Henry beautifully cushioned down into the path of McKenna, who converted for a 1-0 lead for Melbourne City. And then just minutes later, this really was the killer blow for Western Sydney. Look at this, just a long ball forward from Mires. Harrison and Karmas not having a conversation. And then it was a scrappy one, but they got it there. And that has been the crippling storyline for Western Sydney this season. You concede sloppy goals like that. They haven't been that bad defensively considering their position on the ladder. But you just cannot give up goals like that when you're against 10. And then this was a moment of quality from Eunice, and it was really intelligent from Chisari. They took the free kick quickly, and Eunice just does what she does so often on the training pitch, just blasted one in from long range, said, well, I'm going to have a pop here, and Mires could do nothing about that. I don't know if there'd be many goalkeepers that could when Talia Eunice lets fly. She is a talent. Cannot wait to see her career progress. So the stats from this one, Western Sydney dominating possession, dominating passing accuracy, final third entries. But in the end, it was Melbourne City who created the more chances and scored more goals. And in the end, that's all that matters. Melbourne City players celebrating with the fans. And they've got a really good turnout. No doubt a number of them were at Stadium Australia last night. I dare say all of them were there, supporting the Matildas. And they have had a much happier afternoon here in Western Sydney with a win over Western Sydney. Returning serve for that 1-0 defeat earlier in the season. Now, let's reflect back on the drama earlier this afternoon, which was at McKellar Park, Canberra United and Adelaide United, the United derby, you could call it. And it was Bethany Gordon who opened the scoring in the 10th minute, much to the delight of the crowd at McKellar Park. Been a little inconsistent of late, Canberra. Win-loss over recent weeks, but they certainly found that winning form this afternoon, but it wasn't without some difficulty. Sarah Morgan got one back for Adelaide. That was in the 27th minute to make it 1-1. And at that moment you thought, well, Adelaide, could they be a shot still at the premiership, the Premier's Plate? This was an absolute disaster. Goalkeeping mistake. And that was an absolute gift. absolute gift in the second half. Match in the balance in the 69th minute, and Mellor couldn't control that McNamara back pass, and then this was the sealer. Bethany Gordon scored the first, and that is some strike from Hawking. Well, it's up where the Hawks fly, I reckon. Top corner. Smashed it into the roof of the net. And then Sian Dewey got one back for Adelaide just to give them some hope. Blasted one in from outside the box. And Adelaide, all of a sudden, thought maybe they could pull off a miracle. I remember there was a 3-3 draw between those two sides at McKellar Park maybe a few years ago, if I can remember that correctly. But on that occasion, Adelaide could not find the equaliser, and it finished 3-2 to Canberra United. So some recognition for Amy Harrison, who plays her 150th inter-A-League match. Holly Casper's there, giving her a hug. No doubt bittersweet for the likes of Casper's. Chloe Berryhill as well. Key players that Western Sydney lost during the season, meaning that Amy Harrison really needed to step up even more so. She has been such a leader for Western Sydney Wanderers over many years.